It's the final stage of the Tour of Britain of 2013 as the riders work their way around this 5.5-mile circuit in Whitehall. It's the homecoming for Bradley Wiggins. Welcome to viewers on British Eurosport as the riders in the Tour of Britain of 2013 get set to clock out at the end of this 2 tough hours of hard racing around this circuit race. And we have the situation is, as the riders have now about 45 minutes, just over 45 minutes of racing in their legs. 6 riders have made their way clear just after the first sprint point. Andreas Schillinger of Team NetApp, Angel Madrazo of Movistar, Peter Williams wearing the Yodel Intermediate Sprints jersey, although he's actually second in that competition to Madrazo, the King of the Mountains leader. Sergio Pardia, Shane Archbold and Jack Bauer also in there. Madrazo, you see, is having a conversation with the Commissar. Alongside me is Magnus Backstedt, and Magnus, there's a little bit of confusion about whether we've got a sprint lap here.
Well, the bell rang for the sprint lap, but the commissaires just now come up and told Madrazo and Jack Bauer that there's no sprint lap, so definitely the sprint lap's on 2, 6 and 8, not on this particular lap. So,
well, that sowed considerable seeds of confusion pretty much all over London, and indeed in the commentary box here, because we heard the klaxon at the end of last lap. That indicated that they were going to have a sprint, but as Magnus said, 2, 6 and 8. We've already had one this afternoon. That one went the way of Peter Williams, who narrowed the gap between himself and Madrazo at the top to just a couple of points. Madrazo third over the line on that occasion. Jack Bauer second, picking up a couple of seconds, and Madrazo still concerned, and you can understand why. He's always pretty animated anyway. He's always gesticulating, and there's lots of different facial expressions, so he's never one not to wear his heart on his sleeve is Angel Madrazo, but he's been superb this week as we see these the bunch slowing through this slowest corner on the circuit.
Well, there's certainly an awful lot up at stake, you know, for the commissaires and the organisation to have got this one wrong in terms of the intermediate sprint lap. You know, it's all coming down to these final couple of points, and there's no wonder Madrazo is worked up a little bit about this one. He needs to know 100% whether he's going to have to sprint or not. If he sprints now, then you know it's going to take something out of his legs going forward, and he certainly don't want to do that. Yeah, there just needs to be
absolute certainty about things.
Absolute certainty about things, and without the radio, he can't really get that. He's and obviously there might be a bit of a language barrier. I'm not quite sure how good Madrazo's English is, but that could be another problem for Madrazo and also for the organisation and the commissaire.
Well, the gap is holding relatively steady at the moment. 38 seconds. Maximum we've seen is 42 seconds for these riders out front. As Schillinger leads, Peter Williams in his wheel. Jack Bauer just lets a little bit of air between himself and the 2 riders up front. Sergio Pardia in the yellow of MTN Quebec. Look at the way the bunch is strung out. Jure Sagan, Peter Sagan's brother, is on the front for Cannondale, and the Cannondale team, of course, well, they don't want to let this break go too far clear. They're thinking about setting things up for Elia Viviani a little bit later. Viviani, who won stage 1 and went oh so close to taking a second stage win in yesterday's sprint in Guildford. Just missing out to Mark Cavendish. Omega Pharma Quick-Step not making their presence felt at the front of the peloton, but Team UK Youth, with big ambitions, the superstar sprinter Chris Opie, they can get him into a decent position, then it will be an excellent end to Tour of Britain. This
kind of plays into their strength a little bit as well, with you know, having won the Tour Series this year, playing strongly on the UK scene, but certainly the criterium racing is what they've really excelled at this year, and this kind of course, okay, it's slightly longer than what they're used to, but it's still a similar type of setup. It's not too long a stage. Question is, how big a dent has the last 7 days left in these guys' legs? Got to remember, there's hardly any stage racing to have whatsoever in the UK at the moment, which means it makes it very, very difficult for these riders to prepare properly for the Tour of Britain.
Yeah, it's not a lack of ability, it's just a lack of the right racing to get.
A lack of right racing. I mean, eight days for some of the World Tour teams. You know, they kind of take that in their stride. That's you know, usual sort of stage race length for them. Whereas for, you know, the smaller UK teams, where they struggle to get a couple of stage races in one season, you know, and certainly, you know, there's obviously a couple of good races over in Ireland. with the Ross, but unless if you're running the Tour Series and you're really putting big emphasis on that, it's difficult to get the right riders across to do the Ross as well. So there's something that I think needs to be done in British cycling to help the British teams prepare themselves for the Tour of Britain, which is so important for.
Yeah, more of them are
team.
doing continental stage racing. There's several teams registered have continental registration at this point.
Yeah,
but it would be much easier if they could get the local racing.
Yeah, they need the local racing, and it's also very difficult to get international stage races because you know. No organisation is going to want to have 6 or 7 you know, British teams coming across to race their race. They need as many different nationalities in their race as possible, and with I think it's 150 odd UCI continental teams on the scene, it makes for very difficult selections. 22 teams can enter, and I know some of the organisers have 60-70 teams wanting to come and race the race, and it's up to the organisation's discretion as to who they choose.
So more stage racing, that's what these riders need if they're going to really challenge, but it's been a pretty strong week for Peter Williams, representing IG Sigma Sport. He's been in a couple of breakaways, picked up some good points, and now within a couple of points of the man last in the line here, Angel Madrazo. The red numbers on the back of Peter Williams' jersey indicate that he won the combativity competition yesterday, sponsored by Rouleri, won a wheel of cheese for his efforts. Who's going to get it today? That's the question. Could well be Williams again, or will one of the other riders, or will there be somebody in the group behind? They've paired the advantage a little bit, 33 seconds now. So they shaved another 5 seconds off that, and this gap could come down in a heartbeat if the group get organised behind. It's all about timing it. What do they want as the riders there make their way down to Westminster Bridge? They'll make that right turn onto Bridge Road, then a right again to head up Whitehall and up across the finish line. This is a popular venue.
The interesting bit here as well is where, you know, if the peloton decides to keep this pace up, they're pretty much going to catch the breakaway, you know, with sort of 30 odd kilometers to go, and I think that's a little bit too far out there. That's probably why we've seen Bernard Eisel get up to the front here now, calm things down, let him drift out a little bit again, and you know, you're better off just saving the legs a little bit and just in the final 10-15 kilometers, so the final 2 laps, and really ramp up the pressure and make sure it's strung out, and in that way, both for Bradley but also for the sprinters, he stays safer. And certainly when it's a short stage like this, there are so many more riders who can get in there to the mix and start sort of mixing it up in the sprint, if you will, or even get there for the lead out, because they haven't been sort of had their legs worn out enough to start suffering with the high speed. So, you know, pretty much any of these guys can probably get themselves onto the front and start doing turns or whatever after 80 odd kilometers of racing.
That's a little bit of an extra added complication for Bradley Wiggins. He just wants to try and stay safe if he can. As I said, he lost 6 seconds of his advantage to Martin Elmiger in yesterday's sprint. Elmiger sprinting well up the hill in Guildford, finishing 8th on the day. Wiggins wasn't too far behind him, but unfortunately at the back end of that split, 15th over the line was Bradley Wiggins yesterday. And just 2 riders in front of him. Engelvin of Soyasun let a bit of a gap go. And that meant that Owain Doull, too, of Great Britain, also let a bit of a gap between himself and Engelvin, and Wiggins missed out. So Madrazo feeling a bit nervous, really. I think he's got the King of the Mountains competition, which was his main aim of the week. But of course, because he was in so many breakaways, he picked up lots of intermediate points for the Yodel Direct jersey, and suddenly he found himself in a situation where he was fighting on 2 fronts. Mark Cavendish looks very relaxed at the moment, but the pressure will be on him towards the back end of this stage. We're expecting that intermediate sprint to come with 35 kilometers of this stage to go. We're on, as you can see, 42.3. That's what, about 26 miles of racing left in central London today.
I think Madrazo's is actually feeling his legs now as well after all the racing, hard racing that he's done this week, and been in pretty much every breakaway possible. So he's probably quite happy to see the final end of this race.
He'd love it if they dragged him back. It would just do him a favour. Except, of course, then he's got to try and keep tabs on Pete Williams in the middle of the group, and Williams is capable, I think, of finding his way to the front of the bunch. Might be a bit tougher for Madrazo. His skills are slightly different, more towards mountain climbing. Okay, going to get another break out of the way, and we'll check up with the action after this short message. Please do rejoin us then.